Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Sarabjit Kaur with the Midday News. The headlines. United Nations Security Council to meet today to discuss Afghanistan situation. Taliban takes control of presidential palace in Kabul. Afghan airspace closed. Air India says flights cannot be operated to Kabul. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with the Indian para-athlete contingent for the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games tomorrow through video conferencing. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia visits Kerala to review COVID-19 situation. Over 54 crore 58 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country so far. COVID recovery rate improves to 97.48%. Flood situation worsens in Bihar, vehicular and rail traffic disrupted. Country celebrates Parsi New Year Navroz today. President, Vice President and Prime Minister convey greetings. And in cricket, India leads by 154 runs in the second test against England in London. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is going on, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and also help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. The United Nations Security Council will meet today to discuss the situation in Afghanistan. This will be the second meeting on Afghanistan under India's presidency at the Council. Estonia and Norway have requested this urgent session. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres will brief the Council. Earlier, the Secretary General said he is deeply concerned about the situation in Afghanistan and urged the Taliban to exercise utmost restraint. Meanwhile, the Taliban have taken over the capital Kabul and claimed victory in the country. A spokesperson for the group told a news network that their fighters have seized the presidential palace. They claimed that the government has collapsed and President Ashraf Ghani has fled. They declared that the war is over. Kabul descended into chaos and residents and foreign nationals have been trying to escape. At the capital's international airport, an eyewitness told a TV channel that staff had abandoned their desks and people were running to planes. Kabul was the last major city in Afghanistan to hold out against the Taliban offensive, which began months ago but has accelerated in the space of days as they rapidly gained control of territories. The militants were able to seize control after most foreign troops pulled out. Last month, U.S. President Joe Biden had defended the withdrawal of American troops, saying he could not justify an endless American presence in the midst of another country's civil conflict.
The United States did what we went to do in Afghanistan, to get the terrorists who attacked us on 9/11 and deliver justice to Osama bin Laden, and to degrade the terrorist threat to keep Afghanistan from becoming a base from which attacks could be continued against the United States. We achieved those objectives. That's why we went. We did not go to Afghanistan to nation build, and it's the right and the responsibility of Afghan people alone to decide their future and how they want to run their country.
More than 60 countries, including the US and the UK, have issued a joint statement saying the Afghan people deserve to live in safety, security and dignity, and that security and civil order should be restored immediately. Air India will not operate any flights to Kabul due to the closure of Afghan airspace. An Air India official informed that the flight, which was earlier scheduled to fly from Delhi to Kabul today, has been cancelled. Air India's AI-126 Chicago-Delhi flight had to be diverted to Gulf airspace due to the closure of Afghan airspace. Earlier, the Afghanistan airspace was declared uncontrolled by the Kabul airport authorities and transit flights have been asked to avoid the airspace.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with the Indian para-athlete contingent for Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games tomorrow at 11 a.m. via video conferencing. 54 para-athletes from across 9 sports disciplines will be heading to Tokyo to represent the nation. This is India's largest ever contingent to the Paralympic Games. Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur will also be present during the interaction. Today, Mr. Modi met Tokyo Olympics contingent in New Delhi. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar said, "A lot of progress made in the last 7 years in the country is very visible." He said the average Indian aspires bigger things. Addressing the India at 75, the Freedom Summit organized by a television channel, Dr. Jaishankar pointed to the growth and reforms in many sectors, including expanding manufacturing, undertaking agricultural reforms, and improving education and skilling. The minister also devoted a lot of attention to India's relationships in the neighborhood. He said prior to the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Nepal, the country did not get a bilateral visit from India for 17 long years. He said Sri Lanka did not get a bilateral visit for 35 years. The minister highlighted if attention is not given to the neighborhood, then the country would not be seen as a serious player. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will be visiting New York during India's presidency of the UN Security Council UNSC and presiding over 2 high-level signature events. On the 18th of this month, the first event will be an open debate on protecting the protectors, technology and peacekeeping. It will focus on the use of modern technological tools to enhance safety and security of peacekeepers and to aid peacekeeping missions to effectuate their mandates effectively and efficiently. In this regard, India, in collaboration with the UN, will be rolling out the Unite Aware platform, which is a situational awareness software program that allows a peacekeeping operations center to visualize and analyze the ground situation in a conflict zone on a real-time basis. This project aims to demonstrate the impact of modern surveillance technology on the detection of asymmetric threats.
In Bihar, normal life has been paralyzed in flood-affected areas. Over 40 lakh people spread over 26 districts, including Patna, Katihar, Khagadia and Samastipur, are reeling under the impact of floods. Several rivers, including Ganga, Son, Punpun and Kosi, are flowing above danger marks and are maintaining a rising trend. Vehicular traffic and rail traffic have been disrupted in flood-affected areas. Train services on Bhagalpur-Munger section and Kiul-Bhagalpur section have remained suspended on the second consecutive day due to submergence of railway tracks at several places. Long route trains have been diverted on alternative routes. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar said all possible assistance is being provided to the flood-affected people.
कई जिले प्रभावित हैं। हमने जो कल रिपोर्ट ली है करीब 26 जिले प्रभावित हैं। हर चीज पर नजर रखी जा रही है, लोगों को सुविधा दी जाएगी और जैसा भी संभव है उनको मदद करना वो किया जाएगा।
Standing crops spread over 80 lakh hectares were damaged due to flood. 21 teams of NDRF and SDRF are carrying out relief and rescue operations in the affected areas of the state. Over 2,000 country boats have been pressed into service for marooned people. 31 relief camps and 254 community kitchens have been set up in the flood-affected areas. In Bihar, schools have been opened from today for class 1 to 8. With 50% attendance, students have been permitted to come and attend classes on alternate days. Education Minister Vijay Kumar Chaudhary said the decision has been taken considering the declining cases of COVID-19 in the state. Schools have been asked to follow COVID protocols to reopen. Children are advised to have only homemade food.
Over 54 crore 58 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. Union Health Ministry said more than 17 lakh 43,000 vaccine doses were administered during the last 24 hours. The COVID recovery rate is now at 97.48%. Around 36,000 COVID patients recovered in the last 24 hours. Till now, more than 3 crore 14 lakh people have recovered from COVID-19. In the last 24 hours, India has reported over 32,937 new cases and 417 deaths due to COVID. The Health Ministry has said that more than 56 crore 81 lakh vaccine doses have been provided to states and union territories so far. It said that more than 2 crore 89 lakh unutilized COVID vaccine doses are still available with states and union territories and private hospitals to be administered.
As Kerala continues to report a surge in COVID cases, a central team headed by Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia reached the state this noon and is taking stock of the situation. The Union Minister will hold talks with Chief Minister, State Health Minister and other senior officials. Mr. Mandavia will also meet Kerala Governor Arif Mohammed Khan this evening and visit Government Medical College Hospital, Thiruvananthapuram, to assess the COVID care facilities. Wayanad in Kerala has become the first district in the state to provide the first dose of COVID vaccine to everyone above the age of 18 years. COVID patients, quarantined persons and those who refused vaccines are excluded from the list. A total of 6,16,112 people have been given the first dose in the district, while 2,13,311 received the second dose.
In Mumbai, the suburban train services for people who have taken both the jabs of vaccine against COVID-19 began yesterday. However, due to 2 consecutive government holidays on the occasion of Independence Day yesterday and Parsi New Year today, there has not been a substantial rise in the passengers commuting via local trains. Railway officials told AIR that the increase in the number of commuters is expected from tomorrow with the opening up of offices.
Considering the rise in passengers travelling via local trains, the Central as well as the Western Railways have decided to increase the suburban services from today onwards. With this, 1,686 suburban services will run on Mumbai Division Central Railway. Presently, Central Railway is running 1,612 services on suburban network. With an increase of 74 services, the total services of 1,686 suburban services on all its suburban sections will become 95% of the pre-COVID services. Similarly, the Western Railway too has decided to run 1,300 suburban services on its Mumbai suburban section. Presently, Western Railway is running 1,201 services on suburban network of Mumbai Division. The railways have appealed to the passengers to wear their mask properly for their own safety. Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
In Mumbai, the BMC has allowed parks, playgrounds and beaches to remain open from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. BMC Commissioner Iqbal Singh Chahal urged people to cooperate with the Mumbai civic body by wearing masks, maintaining social distance and by using hand sanitizers while visiting public places. He said because of the cooperation received from people, the civic body has been able to control the spread of COVID-19 in the metropolis. You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. United Nations Security Council to meet today to discuss Afghanistan situation. Taliban takes control of Presidential Palace in Kabul. Afghan airspace closed. Air India says flights cannot be operated to Kabul. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with the Indian para-athlete contingent for Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games tomorrow through video conferencing. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia visits Kerala to review COVID-19 situation. Over 54 crore 58 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country so far. COVID recovery rate improves to 97.48%. Flood situation worsens in Bihar. Vehicular and rail traffic disrupted. Country celebrates Parsi New Year Navroz today. President, Vice President and Prime Minister convey greetings. And in cricket, India leads by 154 runs in the second test against England in London. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts. चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मात्र नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मात्र नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back. back to the midday news. The nation is remembering Bharat Ratna former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee on his third death anniversary today. He passed away on this day in 2018. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Home Minister Amit Shah, BJP President J.P. Nadda and other senior leaders visited Atal Bihari Vajpayee's memorial, Sadaiv Atal, in the national capital this morning and paid floral tributes. In a tweet, the Vice President said Atalji was a visionary politician, brilliant orator, learned literature and a veteran parliamentarian who devoted his whole life in selfless service to the nation. He added that his contribution towards nation building will always be remembered with respect. The Prime Minister recalled his warm personality, endearing nature, wit and humour and his contribution to national progress. He said Atal Bihari Vajpayee lives in the hearts and minds of citizens. Born on the 25th of December 1924 in Gwalior, Atal Bihari Vajpayee's contribution towards public life and India's development will always be cherished. He had a long parliamentary experience spanning over 4 decades, and his legacy as the Prime Minister is a rich one that is remembered even today. It includes the Pokhran nuclear tests, astute and wise economic policies that laid the foundation of the longest period of sustained growth in independent Indian history, and massive infrastructure projects. Let's listen to one of his famous poems in his voice.
टूटे हुए सपने की सुने कौन सिसकी, अंतर को चीर व्यथा पलकों पर ठिठकी, हार नहीं मानूंगा रार नहीं ठानूंगा, काल के कपाल पर लिखता मिटाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ.
Today is Navroz, the Parsi New Year. It is the most widely celebrated festival of the Parsi community. This is seen as a harbinger of peace and prosperity. According to Parsi priests, the arrival of the New Year mainly depends on their lunar calendar, and that with every New Year there is a recreation of the universe. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have greeted all fellow citizens on the occasion of Navroz. In a tweet, Mr. Modi prayed for a year filled with happiness, prosperity and good health. He said that India cherishes the outstanding contributions of the Parsi community across different sectors.
Puducherry today celebrated its de jure transfer day. Speaker of the Puducherry Assembly, R. Selvam, paid floral tributes at the memorial erected in Kizhur, a remote hamlet in Puducherry, where the transfer of power took place on the same day in 1962. A report.
As far as Puducherry is concerned, de jure transfer day is the day it really got independence. The then Pondicherry was under the French control well after 1947, even when the other parts of India were free. Soon protests rose demanding a free government, culminating in Indo-French dialogues on the issue. March 13, 1954, the talks on settlement of French territories began, and the process ended with the signing of a treaty for cessation of French control in May 1956. The treaty was cemented in the French Parliament in May 1962. On 16th August 1962, there was a complete surrender of Indian territories after the exchange of instruments of ratification between the two nations. Kirur, a remote hamlet under the Puducherry, was chosen by the French rulers for negotiations with Indian authorities. It was the only border place of Puducherry that was completely under French control. All other places shared intermittent borders with Tamil Nadu. Chidambaranathan, AR News, Puducherry.
In Chhattisgarh, the 75th Independence Day was celebrated with enthusiasm and gaiety. The villages in the remote areas of Dantewada district in Bastar division celebrated the Independence Day with great enthusiasm, where the Maoists earlier used to give a call for boycott of any celebrations. A report.
In many villages of Chhattisgarh's Maoist-affected Dantewada district, the scenario is now changed on Independence Day. In these areas, about 15 villages have now become Maoist-free after the commencement of the Lone Varratu campaign. Many Naxalites have left Maoist ideology and joined the mainstream during the last few months under the campaign. During the Independence Day yesterday, in these villages, the enthusiasm of the villagers, especially children, was seen clearly. The villagers, together with the police personnel, hoisted the tricolor. Tree plantation was also done by villagers and Jawans. On this occasion, the police officers also distributed books and sports material to the school children. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
In a historic event to mark the celebrations of 75th Independence Day, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha yesterday dedicated a 100-feet high tricolour at Shakti Peeth, Hari Parbat in Srinagar to the indomitable spirit of Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. Manoj Sinha observed that our tricolour is a symbol of selflessness, purity and sacrifice, and it belongs to all of us equally and unites us in diversity. As a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahatsav, the idea for the tricolour atop at Shakti Peeth Hari Parbat in Srinagar was conceptualized by the Indian Army and completed with the support of Flag Foundation of India, J&K Government, Central Reserve Police Force and the people of Kashmir.
As the nation observes Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in connection with the 75th Independence Day celebrations, Payanur in Kannur holds a very significant place in the Indian national movement. The 1928 Congress session took place in Payanur. Payanur was the venue of the Salt Satyagraha in Malabar. It was on April the 12th, 1930, a League of Freedom Fighters started to Payanur from Kozhikode under the leadership of K. Kelappan to participate in the Salt Satyagraha. The event took place on April the 23rd. It became even more popular after the visit of Mahatma Gandhi in 1934. A year-long Amrit Mahotsav quiz is being organized by the News Services Division of All India Radio as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations. Titled Amrit Mahotsav Quiz with AIR News, the quiz starts from today on 100.1 AIR FM Gold channel. The aim of the quiz is to raise public awareness about India's freedom movement, its glorious history, art and culture, heritage and strides in various walks of life over the past 75 years. Every Monday and Tuesday, one question each in Hindi and English will be asked at the start of the morning news at 8 a.m. in Hindi and 8:30 a.m. in English. The same question will be repeated towards the end of the 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. news bulletins. Citizens can send their responses to the question over email on amritmahotsav@gmail.com. From the correct responses, one lucky participant will be declared the winner of that edition of the quiz. The name of the winner will be announced in the morning bulletins at 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. the very next day and flashed on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. The winner will be awarded an e-certificate and a token prize. So join us to celebrate 75 years of India's independence on Amrit Mahotsav Quiz with AIR News. Azadi Ka Safar every day with All India Radio from Monday the 16th of August. As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, News Services Division of All India Radio brings to you the story of glorious struggle and sacrifices of freedom fighters on 100.1 FM Gold channel in the English news bulletins at 8:30 a.m., 2 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Stay tuned. Let's listen now to our special program Azadi Ka Safar.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's freedom struggle is one of the greatest and glorious struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. We will daily bring you a glimpse of the struggle. We delve into the great ocean of India's freedom struggle and present the pearls to our listeners. It will be our endeavor to cover major incidents and personalities connected with the centuries of resistance, yet it will not be the complete story, but a tribute to the brave sons and daughters of the soil who gave up everything they had to realize the dream to free their motherland from the shackles of foreign rule.
As the nation got its freedom at the stroke of the midnight of 15th August 1947, every Indian woke up with immense confidence that only freedom can give. There were hopes, there were resolves, there were expectations.
In today's episode, we will give you a brief about two not very well-known sons of India, Moj Riba and Gothu Lachana. Moj Riba was the first to hoist the national flag in Arunachal Pradesh at Deepa village on 15th August 1947. A noble soul that he was always willing to help. This is why Moj Riba was fondly called Abhoy Neji, meaning old father of all. He was born in the year 1890 in the Daring village, now Dari, in West Siang area of the state. His cane business made him interact with a cross-section of people. This is how he heard about the freedom movement. Moj Riba and his group met several prominent leaders and they joined the movement. In recognition of his innumerable sacrifices for the country's independence, he was honoured with Tamra Patra by Government of India on 15th August 1972, the 25th year of our independence.
15th August is also the birth anniversary of one of modern India's greatest philosophers, Sri Aurobindo. Aurobindo Ghosh was an active freedom fighter from 1902 to 1910. He was the first political leader to openly put forward in his newspaper Bande Mataram the idea of complete independence for the country. Sri Aurobindo and his brother Barindro led a revolutionary organization named Anushilan Samiti. The Samiti challenged British rule in India. The British also tried to falsely implicate Sri Aurobindo in Alipur conspiracy, but he was acquitted by the court. Later, he devoted the rest of his life to the development of his integral yoga, which was characterized by its holistic approach and its aim of a fulfilled and spiritually transformed life on earth. He also penned one of the longest poems in the world, Savitri, a legend and a symbol. The poem Savitri has 24,000 lines.
Also, on 16th August 1909 was born Gothu Lachana in Sirikakulam, Andhra Pradesh. He was a champion of Kisans, backward classes, weaker sections, and one of the most prominent leaders of his time. He was arrested at a very young age of 21 when he participated in the Salt Satyagraha at Palasa. Lachana also participated in the Quit India movement. He was conferred the title of Sardar for his fearless fight against the British Raj.
Having been inspired by Gandhi's fast unto death on the issue of untouchability, Lachanna organized Harijan Seva Sangam at Barua in 1932. He started a night school in the Harijan Cheri and agitated against untouchability. He organized estate-wise Zamindari Raitu associations, no-tax campaigns, fought for the abolition of Zamindari system as farmers were unable to pay the heavy land revenue that was levied upon them. In 1940, he organized All India Kisan Sabha at Palasa.
Another interesting fact about this day is that Puducherry celebrates its independence on the 16th of August. Puducherry, then Pondicherry, was a French colony and their parliament ratified the Treaty of Secession on August 16, 1962, formally merging Puducherry with the Union of India.
Mark Twain has aptly summed up India as the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most artistic materials in the history of man are treasured up in India only. That's all today. Let's keep celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahatsav. We will bring you more tomorrow.
In cricket, India leads by 154 runs in the second test against England at London. India reached 181 for 6 in their second innings at stumps on the fourth day of the second test at Lord's yesterday.
Now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. United Nations Security Council to meet today to discuss Afghanistan situation. Taliban takes control of presidential palace in Kabul. Afghan airspace closed. Air India says flights cannot be operated to Kabul. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with the Indian para-athlete contingent for the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games tomorrow through video conferencing. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia visits Kerala to review COVID-19 situation. Flood situation worsens in Bihar, vehicle and rail traffic disrupted. Country celebrates Parsi New Year Navroz today. President, Vice President and Prime Minister convey greetings. And with that we end the midday news.